Back again and ready to finish up this project. Let's get into it. So in the last episode, we finally unveiled this massive project I've been working on for months, but there is still a few small things we need to work on. The first of those are these floating bits of bedrock that used to be on top of the spires that held the crystals for the dragon's regeneration. Now we need to remove all of these, but the problem is a couple of them are kind of close to the build. So any TNT bedrock removing technique is going to do a bit of damage. So I'm going to try and find a way without destroying it. If not, we'll just have to rebuild it. Another thing for today's episode is we have to cover up all of these portals because I don't want these just floating around. The bedrock, while it is an interesting texture and I guess quite rare for builds, it's just not what I'm looking for the theme of my end dimension. So we're going to have to do a little bit of work, plus I'm going to remove a bit of the bedrock on these guys so you can actually just walk straight into them, no trapdoors or flying into them required. And then finally we have to add the final topper to this whole build on its own. There's one thing missing up here and it's kind of expensive, but not in the way you might think. It's just a resource I don't actually have very much of, so we're going to have to build a couple farms so we'll have enough for this build and any in the future. So let's get into it. Alright, quick aside, in creative mode to test out the bedrock breaking technique. So these are where they usually are, all the obsidian. It's going to be on these towers where the crystals used to be, and now we need to get rid of them. So just a bit of TNT, a block, bit of obsidian behind this trapdoor. This obsidian is just so it doesn't destroy it and fall to the ground and die. We got our bedrock, we crawl underneath, right click this, and then we're going to spam click right here when this disappears. It's going to be clicked against this obsidian. So I'm going to cut to the most successful attempt because I've done this about a dozen times and it hasn't worked yet. And there we go. Bedrock all gone. We just have to clean up all the obsidian and the piston. Move on to the next one. And then the same thing's going to happen for all the portals that are usually on the outside. You'll see that back when we go into hardcore. But that is the technique we'll be using today. Won't be showing it on camera because it's going to take a long time. And, well, I guess here's one of the portals. So we got to remove a couple bits of bedrock from these ones as well. It's going to take a long time. So we'll wait for that for the next part of the video. And that was what I was talking about with all the destruction this is going to cause. So now we have to do all the repairs of this, and we lose most of the blocks, I'm pretty sure, because I don't see any that fell. Whoops. Took off my elytra so far I had the extra protection, but looks like I made someone mad. But we got a single piece of obsidian, and I think I mined that too. So let's deal with this enderman, and then let's get to rebuilding after destroying this bedrock. Alright, and that's all the bedrock removed from the inner ring, as well from all the portals. Now they look a little bit strange because I had to do it kind of at a weird angle just to get rid of certain ones, just because of the shape and direction everything is in. Now, we have to get ready to start building, and that is in here. Still forgot my elytra. Good thing I've got good gear. Ooh, that was close. And the totem. That might have been a waste of a totem almost there. So let's go over to here. So the blocks we're going to need are concrete, most of which I've turned. I still have to get to this. This is such a boring thing to do. As well as we need our gold things. So the terracotta, the honey, and the raw gold. So that's also another thing, as well as all these banners. We're finally going to get to using all these. I mentioned them in the last episode, but I didn't actually mention where we're using them. We're using them on the outside little bits. So I'm going to go and finish off all of this concreting, and then any other blocks I might need. I should eat quickly just in case I look at one of these guys. And then after that, I think we're ready to start building. So we're probably going to cut straight to that because the concrete is the boring part. So let's get to building those outer portals. Alright, now that we've gotten rid of the bedrock and we've built all of the pylons on the outskirts over the portals, it's time for the centerpiece. Now what is needed for the centerpiece is mostly lapis, which is a pain to get because I have to do mining, but thankfully I've been grabbing it when I was gathering all this gold up and diamonds and stuff. I can actually remove this finally, it's been here for a while. And we also need end rods. Now the problem is you can get them from the end cities, but there's just not a lot of them, and I need a lot. So the crafting recipe for these, if we check in here, we gotta remove. We need a pop chorus fruit, which is just a regular chorus fruit cooked in a furnace, and then a blaze rod. Problem is, I got no access to blaze rods. I've been searching my storage system. I don't even have a single one that I could show you guys as a demo for crafting it. That's how poor I am on that front. So today's episode, we're going to quickly make up a farm for both the chorus fruits and a blaze farm, because we're going to need those eventually, maybe for like crafting potions or just anything I might need them for. I don't really know what they can be used for, but it's another farm that I need. So let's cut to the nether, let's find a good farm for those, and let's build that up real quick. Alright, and that is the blaze farm all done. We got a couple soul torches leading to a little area where if we fall down this tunnel and use our elytra to slow our descent a little bit. So let's land quickly. And if we sneak down into this little tunnel here, we're at where the blazes will eventually spawn and be shoved into this hole. Now currently I do have another spawner just in here that's going to steal some rates, so I got to decide if I want to destroy this or if I want to link it up for a double farm, because this is really close by for multiple blaze farms. Now we got a bunch of stuff, but we're getting the blaze rods. Now if I had a sharpness 5 sword with looting on it, that might speed things up, but this is a good way just to get started. Got to make sure not to be getting their line of sight. But we're going to get plenty of blaze rods, so that is off the list. Now for the chorus farm. Now, sadly, there's no good way of farming chorus fruit. It's better just to farm it its own, but I thought maybe in this tower, or I guess not tower, I'm used to saying tower because the main tower is my main base. In this pyramid, or Nexus, I guess if you want to call it, we can have a nice little farm snuck into one of these corners. So I'm going to pick one out, and all we have to do, just have to make sure not to look at any of these guys, don't got my pumpkin, end stone, chorus flower, and it grows like that. And then when it grows a certain amount, we break it, we get a certain amount of the flowers back, and we also get some of the fruit. So we're going to set up a nice little farm in here. For today's episode, I'm probably just going to go and farm these manually, just because this takes forever to grow. But it would just be a nice little resource. If I ever needed some, I'd have this little area just full of it, and I can decorate the interior later on. So let's go up and gather a lot more of these flowers, because I don't have any more. This is my only one. There you go. And it grows like that, and then I guess, so we can grab that off of it. I don't know if this is going to keep growing, but we can add another one and just keep going over and over and over, and that will be all the fruit. Then we just need to cook it up, combine it with the blaze rods, and we have the end rods ready for the big build. But now that we have all of these guys growing away, we have our little palette here of a bit of blue from the lapis, a bit of concrete, and then some crying obsidian for a bit of particle and cool like lighting effect. And then the lighting will also come from this, so we can craft up all of the end rods. Ooh, it gives us 4. And we're ready to build. So let's build the final piece of this end base kind of thing. Except for the interior, that's for another episode far, far in the future when I learn how to do interiors properly. But let's go for the centerpiece. Let's go! And here we are. Everything is all complete. Let's take a quick little free cam look at everything all together all at once. This is kind of the first time I'm actually looking at it. But I think I have enough pylons, and I think that crystal really kind of pulls everything together, especially with all the lights. You can kind of see why I wanted all those end rods, just adds a little bit of lighting, especially with like all the shaders. It makes everything look a lot cooler, and this build is basically complete. There's only a couple small things I want to work on. One of those being this kind of spawn platform. Currently, I just have a nice little purple staircase walking up, just so it's easy to walk in. And I guess we can skip over this quickly. And we have the little pedestal also made of purple. Just kind of felt right to keep that in the same theme. I also upgraded my beacon to a fully sized beacon. Probably can't see it. Yeah, it's fully encased. But there's a full beacon there giving me a bit of speed and some regeneration just in case I anger any of these guys. Now back out here, you might have noticed I've got a suspicious button on the floor, and the floor is looking a little weird with this gold. This is actually a bit of redstone that I designed myself. So that I'm kind of proud of, because usually I'm not really that savvy in redstone. But I wanted to come up with my own idea because I couldn't really find one that would do this kind of shape of a door. So let's free cam it up. So all it is we have our button up here which powers a redstone line. First, it sends a little quick signal to these dispensers with powdered snow in them. We'll show that off real quick. And it sends a signal to these observers, which send these sticky pistons, just push it up and then retract without grabbing it. This is so that I can pull it back down afterwards. Now on the back, it's just a simple double piston extender. So the signal also goes over here, signals into this piston, which pushes it up, but also signals to this observer, which powers this thing. And then these pistons will eventually be at this level, which then powers through this block, which pushes it up, but then because it's so quick, it leaves it there and pulls it back down. And then basically the exact same thing happens again when I press the button. Now currently I don't have one on the inside because it doesn't really make sense to kind of trap yourself inside. So I might switch this out for maybe like a pressure plate or maybe a skulk sensor. I gotta figure out how those work, of course. But for now, it's not really like too useful because, I mean, I'm the only one in this world. It's not like these guys can be stopped by it anyways, since you can see them spawning in here. But small little redstone things like this is kind of what I mentioned in the last episode, where I want things for the interior where they might not be completely useful, but they make the build a lot cooler overall. So if you have any kind of silly inventions or things you might think would look cool in this area, let me know down in the comments below. Now, one of the things I was kind of worried about was all the Endermen stealing from my build, but I realized they only take naturally spawning blocks, so things like dirt and stone. So I think my entire build is actually Enderman proof, so I don't actually have to worry about them stealing any of the blocks. But that was something I realized a little bit too late, and I should have probably checked on sooner. But now that the main island is basically complete, I might do some more remodeling of the shape of the island or things like that, as well as that island probably has to go once I remodel my entire kind of shulker farm. I don't know if I'm going to keep it here. It was a little bit of a pain when I was building these guys because some of them did get line of sight and were shooting at me quite often. Gave my reflexes a run for their money. But I don't know if I'm going to keep this here or if I'm going to adjust it. Maybe I can send it through one of these portals and take it to the outer lands and then set it up there. Or if I can find a way of like encasing it in a build. Problem is I would have to spawn proof the outside of it because then these guys can teleport to it all and that would kind of ruin the whole thing. The other farm I need to work on is my XP farm. Honestly, it's not the best because that is a 2x2 hole. And I guess if we go over really quick, we can watch how they kind of, when there's a lot of them, they get kind of stuck and it slows them down immensely. So I might want to make up either a better XP farm for in the end here, or maybe figure out a better one for the overworld, and then I can kind of remove this one so it's not so much of an eyesore around here. Otherwise, I'll have to figure out a cool way of kind of encasing this one as well. Not as big of a problem because I don't have to worry about the shulkers sticking to the side. But I think I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break from the end dimension for a little bit. I've worked on this for a long time. Like I said, it's been about 2 months in the running for the whole design of this whole thing, and then a month gathering all the resources. So I'm a little burnt out of that kind of stuff. So we got to figure out what we're going to do for the next episode. Maybe something in the overworld, maybe something in the nether, maybe something not related at all. We'll just have to wait and see. But I think that is where we're going to leave today's episode. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe for more episodes coming soon. Until next time.